Well, hello and good morning. Sunday, so it's time to get some meal prep going. And I'm starting early because I'm going to be using the crock pot today. And what I'm going to be making, I have a Butcher Box pork butt. This is the bone in, but they have a boneless and a bone in. For this recipe, you can use either one. I'm making carnitas, which I absolutely love because they're so versatile. These are going to come out of the crock pot this evening, and I'll have some for dinner. I'll probably make some tacos or tostadas with them. They're best if you crisp them up in a pan last minute. But I'm going to have a lot of meal prep out of the carnitas because this yields a lot of meat. I get a lot of meals out of this because I can take those carnitas, I can make breakfast tacos, I can make a taco bowl, I can make, I do my own, like a DIY Chipotle salad where I put greens and vegetables and sauteed peppers and onions and the carnitas on top, and it makes a really good dinner bowl, and I guarantee you'll be full on that. If you're going in more of a keto direction, you can do cheese and carnitas and do a bowl like that. The carnitas really go a long way. And to serve with that, I also do some pickled onions, and I'll show you how those are made as well. There is a recipe on my website for carnitas done in the pressure cooker. I am using the same seasoning, but I'm doing it today in the crock pot. So here is the roast that we're going to be seasoning. And for this one, I like to mix up the seasonings first in a little dish because I'm going to coat the entire thing and I want to get it kind of blended evenly. Now, my recipe measures everything, and I don't usually, but just giving you a rough ballpark, it's going to be about a tablespoon, of course, salt, first of all. And again, you can go a little heavier on spices that you like. I'm doing about 2 heaping teaspoons of oregano. And this is like a fairly coarse oregano. So I'm going to take it through my fingers and just kind of break it up a little bit to get it a little bit closer to a powdery texture because it's a coarse one. Picked this up at the farmer's market and it's really nice oregano. In fact, it smells delicious, but it's a little big. So just gauge it. Cumin, important ingredient here. I'm going to go with 2 teaspoons of that. And it's an important spice to this dish. It really gives it the flavor you've come to recognize. And then chili powder. And you can make your own, of course, but pick your heat, okay? This is a hot chili powder, and I like it that way. But if you don't want this as spicy, go lighter. But keep in mind, this is a big pork butt. So when I put a tablespoon or tablespoon and a half of chili powder, that's really stretching out over a lot of meat. And it's going to cook down in some liquids. So keep that in mind when you're seasoning. Don't under-season. Last item, some fresh ground pepper. Maybe 10 turns of the pepper mill. I'm looking for like a rounded teaspoonful. Okay, couldn't be easier. So this is my spice mix, and I'm just going to use one of my measuring spoons to kind of mix it up. And there you have it. By the way, this spice blend is good for other meats. Yeah, I guess you could always make up a batch of it if you wanted to. Save you time in the future. All right. So I'm going to get some of my other things ready before I open up the cork butt. I need an onion cut up, an orange, and some garlic cloves. So let's move this down so you can kind of see the ingredients. There, should be able to see the cutting board there. So I'm just taking a whole onion. This is part of the flavoring. You're going to take this out later. Not really going to eat this onion. So I'm cutting it from end to end in half. Keep your fingers over the knife, not under. Trust me on that one. And you want to leave the root end on and cut a little bit off of the tail where the plant would have grown out. Just take that piece off of both. And let's get rid of the peel. Sometimes they come easy, sometimes you have to fight. This one's coming off relatively easy. And don't worry if you have a little bit of like coarser onion there that you might have normally removed for a salad or something, because this is going to get cooked and you're going to discard these pieces of onion. They're here strictly to flavor the meat while you cook it slow in that crock pot. And by the way, I'm going to cook this all day. The longer the better. You could even cook this overnight. All right, get that to the side. It's going to go in the compost. So I'm just taking the point of the knife and almost down where that root is and just kind of cutting some slices of maybe like a 1/4 of an inch, but keep your fingers over the knife. And then just cut that end off. I left it on just to hold the onion together, make it stable while I'm cutting. And I have these nice pieces that are about so. And you could just stick these onions in the way they are, but I think if you cut them up, it helps distribute the flavor a little better. Okay, so that's the onion. And the other thing that's going in there, gosh, we need some garlic and we need plenty of it for this. So like 6 cloves. Remember, this whole thing is the crown and these are the cloves. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Well, might as well just take it all. 7 of them is fine. No harm there. And again, you're not going to really eat these. They're going to just be cooking in the pot. So I'm not even going to be fussy with how I clean them up. But you don't really want a piece of peel hanging around. So just give them a little whack. And that should help get rid of the skin. Just hit it and it'll come right off. See that? It comes right off. And that's what we want, is just to get these kind of peeled gently by giving it a whack. All there is to it. The garlic, when it's cooked slow, this is going to smell good, like really good. Carnitas, some good ingredients to have on hand to serve them. If you're wanting to go on the lighter side, get some nice bib lettuce or butter crunch lettuce, and you can make delicious wraps that way, or have corn tortillas on hand. And again, make those pickled red onions. You'll really like them as a topping. But the other thing you can make is a simple slaw using a purple or green cabbage and some cilantro and a little bit of onion oil and vinegar. So those are all things that you can use as kind of taco toppings or vessels for that, even cauliflower tortillas or whatever variety you like. There's some made out of almond flour if you want to avoid the gluten. So lots of options. And another way I like the carnitas, I'm just giving them a rough chop, these garlics, is on top of a sweet potato. It is really a feast. So really good that way. All right. Okay. These ingredients are ready. Boom, boom. So the next thing I'm going to do is totally get this out of the way, because it gets a little messy. You open it up and there's some juices, and we need to cover the whole outside with the seasonings. I see that I put my cutting board in front of the camera, so I'm just going to move it all the way to the side here. Okay, so what I like to do is take a couple of grocery bags and just cut them open so that I can season my meat on top of these bags and then just throw them away. Call me lazy, but I'm going to be doing quite a bit of meal prep today, and I'm just not wanting to have to clean my kitchen that many times. Okay. So you can see I've opened up this grocery bag, and I do one all the way open, and then the other one I can just kind of give a nice thick piece. All right, so I think you got the idea there, what I've done with the grocery bags. And that way I can open this up right on top of the bags, get it seasoned, and throw the paper away. How does that sound? Okay, so what I'm gonna do, these are vacuum sealed, so they freeze nicely with no freezer burns or anything like that. I'm just gonna cut it off. I'm gonna lean it over the sink for some of the juices to come out into the sink. Do make sure you defrost this in the refrigerator for about 2 days. before you start. This is not, I mean, I do a lot of recipes where you can cook the frozen things, but this isn't one of them. You really want this defrosted. I just have a damp cloth handy. Okay. Beautiful pork roast. So I have my seasonings ready. And I'm sorry, guys. This is one of those do it with your hands things. I guess you could fool around with tongs or whatever, but you really got to get in there on this and pat these seasonings right into the meat, especially into the fat where it's going to absorb. And this fat is actually going to baste the meat all day long because it's going to start rendering down. So just get in there and get your hands dirty. So now you can see why I like the bags, because some of the spices are going to fall off. And you just, excuse me, get the meat in there and don't waste any, get all those spices incorporated. So take a few minutes to really get this put together. All right. Now you could season this up the night before if you want, but if you've got it out the night before, you might as well just get it in the crock pot, turn it on low, and let it cook all night. That would be nice to wake up to. And you could have carnitas for breakfast. All right, you see how that looks? And it takes on a beautiful color because of the cumin and the chili powder. And yeah, you end up a little bit messy. So what? It's gonna be so worth it. So give your hands a good rinse and you're good to go. All right, a couple more ingredients are gonna go in the crock pot with this. I've already chopped the onion and the garlic. I'm just gonna lay them in the bottom of the crock pot. I am gonna cut up an orange, and that's gonna get, I'm gonna squeeze the juice out of the orange, and I'm just gonna throw the pieces in. And then one last item, of course, that's your liquid. Now my recipe calls to add a beer. And that just, it comes out delicious. But if you're doing a Whole30 or you're on a diet or you just don't wanna use the alcohol, replace the beer with some chicken or beef broth and maybe a teaspoon or so of apple cider vinegar, and you'll still get delicious carnitas. So take your choice on that. Either way, it tastes really good, but it would be a 12-ounce beer or the equivalent in the broth, okay? I would avoid water. You want to give something to add some substantial flavor. So what I'm going to do is get those chopped vegetables in the bottom of my crock pot along with the garlic and the liquid. And I'm going to place this in the crock pot fat side up. I'm going to start it on high just to kind of get it going and get some of this fat melting. And it's just going to baste this thing all day long. And I'll check it here and there to see if I need any additional liquid. I shouldn't if I remember to turn it down to low and keep it covered. Every time you open your crock pot, you're letting steam out, and really the beauty of cooking in the crock pot is how you get that nice moisture and you keep things moist. So don't be checking it too much, okay? So I'm gonna get this in the crock pot. I'll show you later what it looks like, but this is super easy to make, worth the time. I've taken a few minutes to get this seasoned, and I'm gonna get so many meals out of this, but they're versatile because I can do a lot of different things with it. By the way, right now, if you are a new Butcher Box member, they're sending you a bonus. You get a free pork butt, which, as you can see, is really versatile. You also get chicken thighs and their grass-fed ground beef, which I'll also be using for some meal prep this weekend. So it's a nice bonus. Check it out. I'll post the link for you, and feel free to check that offer out because it's a good one. To get your meal prep essentials going. So let me get this in the crock pot. The sooner the better. The kitchen will start smelling great. And be making a lot of other things today, including a breakfast casserole out of ham, asparagus, and eggs and things like that. And making some soups, getting some freezer meals going, a lamb stew, which will be for Thursday, and a whole lot going on because I really want to start the year right, and I'm sure you do too. So have a great one every day, everybody. I will show you what this looks like as it cooks. So take care.